Hey everyone. So I wanted to go live in a series of lives that I'm going to do starting today on the coronavirus, COVID-19, better known as. I'm going to be talking with my friend, Dr. Tyna Moore. I think she'll be joining in just a second. I got to look and see. But I think that we just need information more than anything. And I see Tyna here. One second. We will get started. Hopefully it works. Who knows? My internet's not amazing right now. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you? Good. I was just looking
good.
at my phone to make sure that everything's plugged in.
We are.
Hey, I know. We're making this happen. Oh my gosh.
Thanks for
I
having
know.
me.
Pardon?
Thanks for having me on.
Are you kidding? Thank you so much for agreeing to this. I just feel as though we have collectively gone crazy and we're freaking out about all the different, all the information that we're being fed by the media for the most part. So I really wanted to talk today about the basics, like maybe just starting with what is this? What is this virus? What is COVID-19? Like, what are we dealing with?
Yeah, so just full disclosure, I am not a virologist or an immunologist. I am a naturopathic physician, a licensed naturopathic physician, so not a fake one, and I'm a chiropractor. I just happen to have a particular interest back in school around viruses, and I took a ton of microbiology as it turned out, so I have some expertise, so I just wanted to disclose that. So this virus is... There's a family of 4 coronaviruses that have circled the globe, and this is the 5th, I believe, and it's new. That's why it's called novel. It's brand new.
Right.
So our bodies have never seen it before, and we have no immunity against it. And it jumped from a animal to a human. Usually there's a series of mutations, but this one went, we think, from a bat to a pangolin to human.
Right.
And that's scary when that happens, and we don't know how. Although I heard yesterday somebody say that it could have come into China from anywhere and then ended up in the market. So who knows?
Right.
But bats like to bring viruses to us. We end up in their poop, basically.
Yeah.
The bat guano, or scientists end up in caves researching them or whatever. And this virus seems to be particularly scary because it has a respiratory component.
Right.
So it's not aerosolized. I think there's confusion out there. It's not aerosolized. It is somewhat airborne, and it's coming out of people coughing and sneezing and landing in droplet form, and then people are touching those surfaces and then touching themselves and contracting it that way. And as of yesterday, it's been pretty decently confirmed that there's a fecal oral spread, and that up to 50% of people are suffering from gastrointestinal symptoms.
Yes.
So there's a fecal component, which makes me wonder. I know the original SARS got transmitted this way in an apartment building from people flushing the toilet and then it aerosolizing.
Oh.
So close your toilet lids when you flush so it doesn't aerosolize if you do have it. And the very scary part seems to be that people, like with SARS and MERS before it, people were falling ill about the same time they were contagious. So there was some idea that people were contagious because they were having symptoms. Whereas with this virus, people could be carrying it around for days and days and have no symptomology at all and be spreading it like crazy. I mean, you could just talk and there's a lot of sputum that comes out of your mouth when you speak. So just being around people talking is a great way to contract it. So there's a lot of things about it that make it similar but different.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful. And, people have so many questions about the virus's survivability outside of our bodies. I'm curious about that. Maybe we can just talk through what's actually known about it, because I feel like that's something that people are completely freaking out about as well. And obviously that's why so many of us are self-quarantining, and like leaders in different countries are just making a stay home period, or in different states or cities.
Well, so there's a couple factors there. One is survivability outside the body. I don't know. Somebody sent me an article yesterday from, I think it was from JAMA, saying that it was, or the Lancet saying it was 72 hours, although it's, other scientists are saying hours to days. So I just assume everything's contaminated. That's kind of my jam. And you can kill this easily because of the type of virus it is. It's an enveloped virus. And so it does, that outer layer dissolves readily in with soap and water. So soap and water work great. You can clean your surfaces with soap and water. You can clean your hands with soap and water. It should be clean. I know we're all getting like chapped hands.
I know. Yep. Seriously.
So that's super helpful. Isopropyl alcohol, which is rubbing alcohol, works, but not at higher than 70%. You actually want it between like 60 and 70% strength, which seems to be out of stock everywhere. But if you can find like 90 or 100%, you can dilute it down. And that's just basic algebra math, carry the X and divide. But diluting it down.
Algebra miserably, so.
Well, maybe there's calculators online. I had to pull algebra last night because I have a 91% that I had to dilute down. So somewhere between 60 and 70% is where you want it. And I've just got a bathroom, toilet handle, everything. I'm just spraying everything with the dilution of isopropyl alcohol, and I'm letting it dry. And on that note, vodka does not work because vodka is only 40%. It's 80 proof. So whatever the proof is on the bottle, divide that in half, and that's what percentage alcohol it is. So even Everclear is only going to be about 50%. So these homemade vodka hand sanitizers it'll decrease the load of the virus, but it's not going to be as effective as if you could dilute something down, an isopropyl down to like 60, 70%. And then, what was as far as staying inside, I don't know, because this, from onset to death has been anywhere between 2 to 8 weeks. So I have no idea what that means for people who, if you're quarantined, if you're staying home, some people, like I heard from one of are just going to stay inside for a week. And I was like, no, like you need to stay inside for weeks before your body is past this. And I don't know what that magic number is quite yet.
Yeah, I don't think any of us do really, right? I mean, it's sort of all just unfolding. Oh, shoot. Sorry, my phone is about to go flying. And got a makeshift phone set up here.
The scary thing is that young, healthy people are, and all types of healthy people who have potentially contracted the virus are walking around transmitting it, shedding viral particles everywhere they go. And that's the problem, is they're acting as a vector. And they're transmitting the virus without knowing, potentially. And it's a very selfish thing to do, in my opinion. I'm trying to stay on lockdown, but a lot of people are not. So.
Oh, completely agree with you. I know. I mean, there's a lot of people out and about. So with that said, common symptoms, differentiating between corona and the flu or any other respiratory illness. How do we do that?
So it seems like this is starting with what I've been hearing is headache, some gastrointestinal symptoms, potentially dry cough, heavy chest feeling. Versus a cold, like I had a cold that turned into bronchitis, and I'm still stuffy. Like this has been going on for weeks, but that was a sneezy, lots of coryza, lots of oozing out of my face, which is coryza is the medical term for like someone turned a faucet on in your face, coughing up sputum, like really, really, really sneezy. That was a cold. That was not this.
Yeah.
This is presenting differently for those reasons.
Uh-oh, I don't lose you. I lost your audio and I don't know why. This is such a bummer. I've turned off all of my Wi-Fi. All right, let's see if we can make this happen again. Let me just message Tina and just let her know. All right. Hold on a second. Okay, let's try this again. Let's do this. Please work. Hi.
Yay!
Okay,
Hi.
amazing. We did that. Okay, so we were right about to get into the symptoms. So you were talking about the symptoms of your common cold.
Yeah, so the cold would be like fever is probably rare with a common cold, but it's going to be notable with this virus.
Okay.
Aches and pains might be is more common with a cold, whereas in a flu, whereas aches may or may not be present with this.
Okay.
A sore throat may or may not be present. There's a lot of overlap of maybe here.
Yeah.
Fatigue is a maybe, but I think fever, dry cough leading to shortness of breath, that's the concern with this virus. But there's a super high recovery rate, like 83%. I think people are recovering really readily. And it's, for a lot of people, it's just going through them and it's no big deal. And then for others, they're getting hammered. Yeah.
Agreed. I know that's something I want to get to, but someone's asking about the GI symptoms. I know that was a new thing. I just read about that yesterday as well. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No. I don't know, because some people might have upper, which is like more nausea and vomiting. Some might have lower, which would be more diarrhea. I don't know.
Okay.
So
I know it's tough to say. So with that said, with the, like the reasons why some people are really affected, and then obviously some people are dying, whereas others are just walking around asymptomatic. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's super interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost like modern America was set up for this virus. I'll tell you how it works, and then you'll understand. So
yeah.
So when you're dealing with chronic conditions, most of which are lifestyle induced, like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, all the things Americans are famous for.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much. I know.
Standard American diet, metabolic syndrome, which is, for everyone listening, metabolic syndrome is basically, in my opinion, diabetes type 1, or I should say like stage 1. You'll live with metabolic syndrome for 5, 10, 20 years before the magic number of diabetes gets diagnosed. So a lot of people are already living in this chronically inflamed, chronic blood sugar issue, etc. state. What happens in those conditions is there's this receptor that lives on your cells that's part of the angiotensin-renin system. They're called ACE2 receptors, and they upregulate on your cell as a protective mechanism in response to inflammation.
Right. Yes.
And this was shared with me by Karan Krishnan, and then I went like deep diving into it Karan of Microbiome Labs.
Yeah.
So people with cardiovascular disease, all kinds of issues, potentially have an upregulation of these ACE2 receptors on their cells. And
just inflammatory issues in general, really, right? Yes. Okay. That's our entire population.
Right. That's where the virus binds.
Yeah.
So the body is upregulating these receptors. They're there naturally occurring, but they're being upregulated by these chronic states of inflammation from people generally living fairly poorly, as far as their lifestyle habits go. And now the virus gloms right on there. And
oh my God.
I know, right? It's a perfect storm. It's a smart virus. It was literally designed to take out the inflamed and sick.
Wow.
That's how this virus works at its core level.
Right.
I hate to say something that I haven't said that out loud yet, but that's literally like from all the research I've done, that's it. And talking with Karan offline, like this virus is designed to knock out people who are in poor health generally
speaking. I mean, that when you think about the fact that I don't even know what the exact numbers are for diabetes and hypertension and chronic illnesses in general across the world. I mean, the numbers are staggering.
And we're a hotbed of it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I at some point our population at large just was like, oh, well, whatever, let's just let modern medicine take care of us. We can take pharmaceuticals. And I've always been like, because I come from a long family of that. And I'm like, no, like this is not how it works, guys. Like there's a certain point where something's going to hit us, and here it is. So I do not say that dismissively, and I do not say that out of disrespect. I get it. I have lived an inflamed life myself, and I have cleaned it up, but yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Same. I completely agree with you. I feel like now more than ever, literally, it's almost like life and death. It's imperative that we take care of our health. I mean, I preach the same thing as you do. And yeah, I mean, literally, we're being faced with a situation where our lives and our families' lives depend on it. Yeah, it's interesting being in the grocery stores and seeing the fruit and vegetables, everything is still there, and then everything else is gone. Like all the junk food, like all the bread, everything is completely gone. And it's not a judgment. It's just like, this is how we've all lived for so long. And now it's it's like a reckoning.
Yeah, it's a wake up for
Yeah.
sure. And it's, I have family members who, pretty much my entire family is aside from my mom and hopefully my daughter now, but have, not taken excellent care of themselves over the years and just sort of relied on the medical system at large to just add another pharmaceutical, add another pharmaceutical, add another pharmaceutical. And on that note, people are scared because I made a video when I first discovered this ACE2 receptor connection. I put the video out a few days ago and it went viral, and it was very exciting and like a lot overwhelming, I should say. But here's the concern with that is some of these drugs work on the ACE receptor, and because when a ligand and a receptor bind, when all your receptors are full, let's put it that way, your body sprouts new receptors.
Okay.
So there's some concern that potentially taking drugs like lisinopril or other blood pressure drugs may increase the ACE2 receptors on someone's cells. And while that's potentially a yes, the bigger concern, in my opinion, and is really the root cause issue here, is like, why do they have high blood pressure?
Right.
And how do we address that through lifestyle and dietary changes, right? That's the root cause.
Yep.
Versus blaming a bunch of drugs and getting concerned, because now that that's been out there and gone viral, I'm getting a lot of feedback from my doctor friends who are irritated with me because they're like, you let the cat out of the bag, our phones won't stop ringing, everybody wants a different blood pressure medication. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I was just presenting what I found in the science. But there's, speculation that certain nutrients raise those receptors as well, because those receptors are there to be protective.
Yes.
From inflammation. So vitamin A, vitamin D, zinc maybe potentially raise who knows? So like, I don't want people to get hung up in the receptor world. I want them just to understand that receptor is paradoxical and that it is upregulating, probably most notably because of people's inflammation.
Right. Okay, that's amazing. And that brings up a whole bunch of questions. I know that a lot of people are asking these kinds of questions, like, what do we do? What can people generally do? And I know you're not anyone's doctor. I know you could totally give that disclaimer, but there are obviously I have other questions too about NSAIDs and Cytokine Storm that everyone is up in arms about now too. So maybe like we can talk through some of the things that people can do to support themselves.
Sure. Let me just address the NSAIDs and Cytokine Storm. The Cytokine Storm is a kind of a rare event. So just so people know, and I'm not going to name any herbs in particular, but most herbs work in an adaptogenic capacity, meaning they upregulate or downregulate where necessary. So people are getting really excited about certain herbs and the Cytokine Storm and concerns. Herbs don't drive pathways like drugs do. Drugs drive pathways down one path and drive it hard depending on the dose of the drug. Herbs are adaptogenic, so they mitigate and they do more of a balancing effect. That said, I mentioned licorice in my video because it was just one of the many herbs that were in some studies I found. I mentioned the word licorice, and now literally I'm seeing posts by people saying, Dr. Tyna said licorice can cure the coronavirus. And I'm like, no. And in fact, licorice can be very dangerous for certain people. It can raise blood pressure. It can cause heart palpitations. It can cause anxiety, which we don't need any more of right now. So this is not just disclosure on that one. I did not suggest anybody go take licorice. And then some lady messaged me and said she gave some to her baby and the baby was vomiting. And I was like, oh my God, no. Like and I said it in my video on repeat. So no matter how many times we say this, Nicole, people are still going to take the words coming out of our mouth as gospel and run with it. So I'm not your doctor. I am not your doctor, and I'm not making any suggestions. That said, ibuprofen, here's why ibuprofen I think is a bad idea. It blocks fevers, and we need a fever because a fever is how we burn out, the bad guys in our body. So
right.
Fever is not the bad guy that we've made it out to be, and they're wonderful. And as long as they're mitigated, we don't want them going above 103. Children can sometimes handle a little bit higher fever. Always refer to your doctor and talk to your doctor first. But ibuprofen is going to shunt the fever response. So we don't necessarily want that. And then there's talk about maybe it upregulating the ACE2 receptor. I don't know. Right. And then the other drug, Tylenol, so I think it was the World Health Organization came out and said, don't use ibuprofen, or it was the CDC, don't use ibuprofen, use Tylenol. The problem with Tylenol is it's a fever reducer.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily want that either. But again, this is individualized to each person, and that you should always call your doctor's office. If you have a fever, call them and talk to them and ask them what to do. Don't take our word as gospel, because I'm just the messenger.
Yeah. No kidding. Okay. And so in terms of supporting immune systems, do you have any thoughts on what people can be taking or what they might want to look into or research?
The one thing that I think is safe across the board is vitamin C.
Yeah.
And it does seem to quell that overexcited immune response. That's how the virus is killing people, is the immune system gets overly excited, and you end up with thick goo in your lungs. You end up literally drowning in your lungs if it gets terrible.
Yeah.
Because the virus attacks a pneumocyte, which is a cell in your lungs that makes surfactant. And surfactant is the soapy substance that keeps your little alveoli open. And your alveoli are like little grapes, little pockets of grapes. They increase the surface area of your lung, and they are what oxygen exchanges through. And the reason that premature babies are in danger is because they're not born with enough surfactant. Oftentimes, that's why they have to be put in ventilators.
Okay.
This is attacking the cell that makes surfactant, and so this virus, and so people are getting collapse of their alveoli and edema, which is fluid, gooey fluid filling their lungs. So people are literally drowning in their lungs, and there's not a whole lot that can be done. I mean, there's not enough ventilators in these hospital systems. And so I don't think we've even seen what this virus can do to North America yet. It hasn't even, I keep saying that this virus hasn't seen North America. It hasn't seen our level of inflammation and poor health.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
Scary. So what can you do? So vitamin C seems to be helpful in capacities around that. Mechanisms are varied, but that seems to be a decently safe one. I think eating really well as best as you can with what you have. I'm kind of excited because I think, I don't think most people are going to be doing their fast food runs nearly as much. I think people are going to have to go back to cooking at home.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's what people must be doing right now.
Eating at home. Which is key. Exercise is wonderful. I made a post yesterday about getting hot. Somebody accused me of saying that the sun kills the virus. I never said that in my post. I just said sunlight helps. Sunlight helps surfaces. Sunlight helps your body synthesize, like basically photosynthesize. It helps your immune system. Getting hot helps, whether that's sweating from exercise or sweating in a sauna or sweating in a bathtub. Sweating always helps. And I described why in my post. It's old school naturopathic medicine, hydrotherapy, but of course people had to run with it and get mad at me. I was just trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
So, getting hot every day, I think, is critical. Movement is critical. Don't let yourself become a stagnant pond. I am a big believer in keeping your mucous membranes wet. And so some ways to do that is a humidifier. Keep your windows open for a couple hours a day to get airflow through your house or through your apartment so that you're not like accumulating more virus in there.
Yeah.
You can even put like a Pyrex container on your stovetop with a little water in it if you don't have a humidifier to humidify the air. Just keep an eye on it so it doesn't all burn up.
Oh,
but I think
that's such a good idea. Is that how they did it in the old school days before humidifiers were invented?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So, and it's nice to have a humidifier by your bed, especially if you're symptomatic. It'll really, dried out mucous membranes like to get infected with viruses. So stay hydrated, stay moving, eating well is key. Obviously quarantining, and people don't seem to understand what that means. Whoever your quarantine buddies are, you guys are responsible to each other. So like I am at my boyfriend's house, but he is working every day. And his son is working and lives here. And then his son had friends over. So I'm like, you guys are ruining my quarantine. This is not how you quarantine. You're all bringing your shit back to me and I don't want it. So,
yeah, that's not how it's supposed to work.
And now I can't go see my mom because I'm pretty sure that I have been exposed. I'm sure with all these people out there. And I can't go see my daughter because if I give it to my daughter and she needs to go see my mom, you know what I mean? It's like, that's what we're all doing when we all go out around each other is we're ruining other people's opportunities to be around their loved ones. So if you're going to find your quarantine buddy and hunker down and stop exposing yourself to other people. I'm going to post a graphic I saw once we get off this. Like, it's crazy how fast exposure to other people will spread this, and how readily we can quell this and knock it out of the scene if we can, and slow the roll and, like, flatten the curve, if you will. That what that means is we can either have a massive amount of cases that burn fast and high, and it's going to be a shit show on the human population and on the medical system, or we can flatten the curve and have less people exposed, and then the medical system can handle it, and it might last a little bit longer. But that's the two ways viruses can rip through a population.
Right.
It can be brutal, or it can be more mellow and take longer, and you get a little bit more of a herd immunity. So we can take our pick, but self-quarantining and social isolation will help flatten that curve out.
Yeah, no doubt. So I've seen a ton of questions here. I'm curious, when we're talking about vitamin C, is there a particular kind of vitamin C that you would recommend, or that you take, or anything like that, or dosages that people that are effective?
Well, I don't know about effective. We don't have any literature to support any of this being like necessarily effective or curing, or I'm not going to use any of those words, but I know what vitamin C does in the body. And I'll tell you what my late great mentor taught me, which was when patients would call concerned about a cold, and remember, coronavirus is usually a cold for people. Not this one, but the other strains are usually just a common type cold for people. He would say take 1,000 milligrams an hour, and two bowel tolerance, meaning you'll start to get loose stools, and then back off a little bit. And eventually your body will start to use it better. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know if you're going to tolerate 500 a day or 10,000 a day. I don't want to make any blanket recommendations. But what I do is I take it regularly throughout the day until I get loose stool, and then I back off a little bit.
Okay, good to know. All right, awesome. Do you have a little bit more time for one or two more things? Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else here. I know somebody asked about whether this is transmissible to other animals from humans. Don't know that we know that.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. I was listening to an immunologist yesterday on the radio. I didn't catch his name. Very smart guy, though. And he was saying he thinks so. He was saying he thinks our pets can get it, and we can get it back. I do know that you should not let anyone pet your dog.
Okay.
When you're out, because who knows what's on their hands, and then it gets on your dog's fur, and then you pet your dog, or if you're like me, you kiss your dog.
Oh yes, definitely.
My dog's part coyote, so she doesn't let anyone touch her, so I'm fine. I'm like,
I love that you have a half coyote dog. Of course you do.
It's really funny because I know, of course I do. I got her as a rescue last year, and I joke because I live in an apartment building, and every time I get in the elevator with somebody, she gets really skittish and hides behind me. And I joke, I'm like, she's part coyote and she's going to be great in the zombie apocalypse. And here we are.
Careful what you ask for.
I got my zombie apocalypse dog. So I'm set.
You definitely do. Oh gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so there were a lot of other questions.
Okay.
Somebody asked, what do you tell people who are inflamed or sick or have multiple issues that are potentially making them more susceptible to contracting this or becoming really, really ill or possibly even dying?
So what you eat 100% dictates how your body is going to do with anything in life, is really strongly my opinion. I believe that how you eat, move, sleep, the relationships you have, it's do you have your head straight? What's your stress tolerance? All of those things impact your inflammation. Just being stressed, just losing a few hours of sleep, those things will upregulate your inflammation. So I have a free book at drtyna.com, drtyna.com. I cover the 6 pillars. I believe it's called Pain Free and Strong, but it's really like the 6 pillars of health. And it's a really quick read. So I would encourage people to go grab that and read it. The link is in my bio. It's a really, really quick read, and young people can read it, older people can read it. I will tell you this, as a physician who's ran tens of thousands of labs on patients over the past decade, I don't start to see metabolic changes and inflammatory changes come down for at least 30 to 90 days.
Okay.
Even with the best efforts. So just know that if you're in a pickle, it's even more important that you really double down on this, because I literally, patients would come in and they'd say, I overhauled my diet 100%. I've been amazing for the past 30 days. I want to run labs. And I'm like, I'm not going to see any changes on your labs. And they demand that I run their labs, and I run their labs, and it still looks like a shit show. So it takes about 90 days for us to start to see metabolism shift in the right direction.
Yeah.
So I don't have a fast answer. That's why this is what I'm saying. This virus is like designed for North America.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I hear you. I completely agree. It's shocking.
It's shocking. So we have to start now, and we have to, I think this is going to last a while. So I think people really need to start taking care of themselves immediately. Grab my book. There's lots of resources out there.
Yeah.
I'm going to give away, if people want to follow me on my Instagram, I'm going to give away, I have a big announcement. I have a big giveaway coming, and I would love everybody to be able to partake in it. So, and I'll share it with you too, if you want to share it out.
Yeah.
I don't have the URL all handled just yet, but, I will in a few hours.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, but eat like you give a damn. That's truly.
Yep.
Like you want to survive this.
Yes, exactly. I think the other thing is too, is that we tend to be a culture of, okay, well, if we're not going to take medication, then we're going to just take like a shit ton of supplements, and that's going to save us all, or it's going to help us figure out our health issues. But you can't out supplement a crappy diet. And especially in a situation like this, I mean, everyone's asking about not only vitamin C, they're asking about vitamin D, they're asking about turmeric, they're asking about all of these different things. And at the end of the day, like, those are going to complement what you're eating, which is exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a scary time, and I wish I could be more consoling to people, but there's no magic pill here. Like, literally, this virus is going to be most potent on those who have been taking really bad care of themselves for a long time, you know?
Right. Yes. No, I completely agree with you. I know. Is there anything positive we can end with?
Yeah, the recovery rates are really high.
Yes.
Children and young people are not spared necessarily, but they seem to be doing much better. And in fact, they've done X-ray studies, so non-invasive X-ray studies on children's lungs. And they show pathology. They show contagion and pathology. Like, they're having the same kind of changes happening on X-ray as adults, but they're not symptomatic.
Right.
Which is amazing. So young people, pregnant women seem to be doing well. Asthmatics, I know that's been a big question that I've been getting, is what about asthmatics? They seem to be doing okay. As of now, I interviewed a very famous immunologist, Heather Zawicki. I'm going to launch that podcast today. That was yesterday. She gave us some amazing information there, so I hope everybody will listen to that when I throw it up.
Yes.
There's a lot of good to this. It's just a matter of, I think if we can quarantine, the harder we quarantine and take this seriously, and my boyfriend included, who did not take me seriously until yesterday, come on, guys. The harder you take that seriously, I think the faster we will be done with this as a country.
Yes.
But we're not, and I know there's conspiracy theories out there. I want everyone to let them go, because this is really happening, and this is really scary, and who cares how it got here? It's here, and getting ourselves riled up about, I'm getting, people are messaging me, asking me to use my platform as their platform on all this stuff, and I'm like, yes, there's going to be an economic hit, and there's a lot of bad things about this, but also we can turn this around faster if we just all buckle down and stay inside.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Or go outside in the sun too. I think here's the upside. I think we're going to see a lot of people getting in really great shape.
That's hopefully we're not all just sitting on our couches all day long.
No way. People are going to be like getting in shape. They're going to be, this is like vacation. This is forced vacation. So I'm watching people's stress levels go down. Like, my belly fat has already gone down just because like stress has gone down, because I can't go anywhere and do anything, So take this as an opportunity to like harness your inner zen and get your meditation on, and eat well, and eat home cooked meals, and teach your kids how to cook, and maybe your kids teach you how to cook. I don't know. And spend time with your family. Like, there's so much upside to this, I think.
Oh, completely. I mean, when we think about environmentally speaking, the lack of industry, I mean, I know that this financially, the economic fallout is going to be really severe, but when we just think about how the planet is changing dramatically, and the fact that we are now, like, we're forced into doing nothing, basically. Like, we're forced to look at our shit. Like, we're forced to look at all the things that are not working in life right now, that are not working collectively. I mean, it is quite astounding how much has shifted in just a week, from the perspective of not only what's happening environmentally, but what's happening with the collective psyche for the most part.
Totally. I agree. I'm looking at some of these questions here to see if there's any.
Yeah. It's a lot of turmeric. A a lot of turmeric
Well,
questions.
turmeric's a great herb. I'm not
Yeah.
going to lie. That's a great herb. I know, and somebody mentioned that this is going to affect a lot of mental health people. I agree. I'm someone who's suffered from depression and anxiety, and I can already feel myself getting antsy, but
Yeah.
I go to my breathing. And I'm not trying to steal your audience, Nicole, but I do have a whole plan too of like stuff I'm going to launch along the way. It's coming together as I grab experts. So if people want to come follow me, I have solutions for a lot of the stuff that I'm planning on sharing over the next few weeks, because as it's unfolding, the feedback I'm getting, I'm trying to get the right people on to talk about it too. So I appreciate you having me on and the work you're doing, because we all just need to get as much good factual information out there as we can, and my advice is to stop reading all the hype.
Yes.
Like, turn your phone and the news off, and, learn to box breathe. Box breathing, I'll leave you with this. Box breathing for your audience, you probably know what it is, but for your audience, all you do, this is what I do. You can induce the parasympathetic nervous response. I breathe in for a count of 4 to 6, depending on how calm I am, because I can't breathe in for a larger count if I'm anxious. My body just won't let me do it. So I breathe in for a count of 4, I hold it for a count of 4, and I breathe out for a count of 8 if I can. Sometimes I can only breathe out for a count of 4, and then I hold it for another 4. That's the box. In 4, hold 4, out 4, hold 4. But I like to do in 4, hold 4, and then out 8. And it's that slow, like you breathe like you're breathing through a straw. And it's a slow 8 count out. I promise you, if you do that 3 times, your nervous system will just calm right down.
Yes. So good. It's so great. And like you just said, to reiterate to everyone, turn off the mainstream news. I mean, like, I looked at the news yesterday just briefly just to see what was going on, and they had like a counter of how many people in the US have COVID-19, how many people have died so far, and like a little red arrow showing how many people since yesterday have died versus today. And I'm like, what? This is craziness. Do not do this to yourself, people. Like, don't. It's insane. Like, it is going to make you crazy. Like, somebody just said, I couldn't breathe yesterday because of the anxiety. Like, you have to take away the things that are causing the anxiety right now. Be in control of the things you can control. And the breathing technique is one of the biggest ones. Like, really being able to regulate your nervous system right now is a crucial technique to have.
Yes. And the quick fix for that is just breathing in a paper bag. That's tried and true. Like, I used to have panic attacks when I was in college, and one of my college the student health clinic, one of the doctors there was like, you're just having a panic attack. Here's a paper bag. And I was like, oh, it works. So,
is that what they did before they prescribed all this medication?
Yeah. He taught me some yoga moves and handed me a paper bag, and best doctor ever. I went in actually looking for anti-anxiety drugs, and he was like, no, I'm going to teach you some stretches and the paper bag breathing, which I'm very thankful for. So do what you can. Chamomile tea is wonderful. There's different teas out there that are soothing and calming. I know privilege is an issue here, and I know there's some people who don't have a lot of resources to food, and I completely respect that. I have been broken poor myself. I get it.
Same.
But we do what we can do, and I'm just looking outside right now. It's spring, and like flowers are popping up. I know my herbal medicine, but as soon as chamomile pops up, pick that stuff, throw it in a pot, and make some tea out of it.
Yeah. I
had a German friend who, as a mother, would just have a pot of chamomile tea going all day, and that's what she'd give her kids. So everybody remained calm in the household.
I mean, whatever works, literally whatever works. I know. And it's I think this is an opportunity for us to come back to ourselves. We have been so busy looking outside of ourselves for answers, looking externally, instead of really tuning in and seeing what's wrong, what's wrong, not right, what's not right for us right now, like what's not working. And I just think it's a remarkable opportunity amidst the chaos and the feelings of that everything is out of control.
It is. And I think too, I was thinking this last night in the bathtub, I think we all have a healer inside of us. I think a lot of us are healers, and you don't have to have doctor in front of your name or some special letters. A lot of women in particular are healers, and a lot of, men too, but people who we've been healing our families and taking care of our kids. And my grandparents' generation knew how to do all this stuff. They knew how to use the kitchen and the herbs in the kitchen to do good, helpful things, not curing anything, but embrace your inner healer. and trust it and share it, you know, and take care of the people around you. And I think that will calm a lot of people's nerves, because people are looking to all of us for the answers. But I do think a lot of people just if you have grandmas, talk to your grandmas right now, call them and be like, what do I do? What's in my kitchen? So I don't know. That was my thought last night.
No, I like that. It's a lovely sentiment. Okay. Well, I don't want to take any more time. Thank you so much for this. I feel like we've gotten a million questions from people. And I think that you just shared some amazing info. So everyone, just so you know, this live is up. The first one is up as well, or it will be up. And hopefully, you know, everyone, you guys should just follow Dr. Tyna. She's got a lot of amazing answers. And like you said, you have some more information coming as well, right, for people?
A ton. Yeah, okay, I have a ton. I'm just trying to pace it all so that I can't force feed everybody yet. So
yeah, not yet.
Yes. I appreciate this so much for having me on. Thank you.
Thank you for your wisdom and all of your research. It's so helpful right now in this time, I think, for people who are just freaking out and need legitimate answers, and not, like you said, people randomly being like, yeah, like take licorice. That's what I've been told to take. We should all take that.
Yeah, no, be careful out there.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
all right,
well,
thank you so
much.
much.
Thanks.
All right, bye.